Hi, I'm Candace Gourdain, and this is Fitness and Harmonies. The yoga for today is the warm-up. So there's so many things going on in our body at any given time, cellular respiration and muscular rejuvenation, and we work on electrical chemicals that come from the food we eat. We break apart those bonds, and then we also work by mechanical stimulation. So nerves inform the muscles on how to move, and that affects the connective tissue. And it does all of this essentially through the blood. So blood is like any fluid. It needs to be warmed up to be able to move around the body and then bring those nutrients and then pull away the waste products. So come to a seated pose. We're going to start by warming up the shoulders. I want you to start moving the shoulders up, back, down. So spin. The shoulder blade on the back, up, back, and down a few times. We're going to work on the wave today. So we're going to do a little bit of kind of a dance move so we learn how to move. So let's just start pulling the shoulders back and down, turning the palms up, letting the arms relax down. Take a seat on the edge of your blanket or whatever you're sitting on, and then lower your eyelids all the way down. Let's begin. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. Inhale, warming and filtering. Exhale, releasing any waste. Cellular respiration begins with the breath. And the nervous system reacts to the breath with good reason. Everything in your body, all the movements, all the metabolism, or the hormonal balance, all the immune system actions, they all depend on the breath. Inhale. As you exhale, elongate the front and back of the spine. We're going to recognize the Yamas today. Those are the disciplines or the restraints. It's the first limb of the 8-limb Ashtanga Yoga. There's different types of yoga. If you didn't know this, there's jnana yoga, which is just like studying. There's karma yoga, which is just doing good deeds. There's many different types of yoga. One of those types is Ashtanga Yoga, which is the physical practice leading us towards the ultimate, which is samadhi. That's the 8th limb, which is enlightenment or the reduction of all suffering. That's the path we're on. We're on the path towards the reduction of all suffering through these restraints and disciplines, the asana or the poses, the pranayama or the breath discipline. Notice it ends in yama. Yama is discipline. Pratyahara, removing the senses from the outer world and drawing in to your upper consciousness. Dharana, focus. Dhyana, meditation. And ultimately the 8th limb is samadhi, enlightenment or absorption into the universal infinite love. 2 more breaths. Our breathing practice begins, it's like our first step on a journey, using all of our resources to whatever our goal is. Now slowly let the head tip right and tip left. We're going to warm up the shoulders today, so I want to make sure we keep the trapezius and the side of the neck muscles warm. So all of today is really a warm-up for meditation. We're literally warming up the blood by using those red blood cells to bring oxygen to the tissue and waste products away from the tissue. Now bring the head back to center and once again begin rolling the shoulders. There's kind of a couple of joints in the shoulder socket. The arm bone fits in to 2 other bones. The clavicle on front, that's the collarbone, and the shoulder blade sort of on the back. So those 3 bones come together and they make a couple of joints actually. 3 long breaths. So stay with your practice. 2 long breaths. And 1. Then we'll open the eyes. Let's grab this strap to begin with. So if you have a strap or towel, anything will do. I'm just going to double it up so the end of the strap doesn't hit me in the face. You're going to try bringing the arms a little bit wider than the body, up overhead, and then back down. Now gently spin your arm bones out so that there's an openness in that front part of that joint. The joint where I said where the head of the arm bone connects with the clavicle, the shoulder, what's that called? The collarbone. Then bring the arms overhead. Now begin circling your shoulders overhead. So this almost looks like a lassoing dance. What we're doing is we're warming up the shoulder blades because a lot of what we're going to do today is going to depend on the shoulders and the chest. Yes, you're doing it. Inhale and exhale. What we're really doing is clearing the way. So there is going to be metabolic debris in all of the tissues of the body. The tissues of the body that have good blood flow, like the muscles, are going to be first to respond well. Now go the other way, like you're paddling a boat or you're making a figure 8. Three. Long breaths. 2. And 1. Now let's just wave the whole body side to side. So I want to start introducing this concept of a wave. We are a series of joints. So rather than think about muscles, because muscles are hard to understand or to visualize, we don't normally think about, what a muscle does and where it is and its origin and insertion, but we can picture joints. Most of us are aware of where our joints are. So right now we're waving the 30 so vertebrae of the spine side to side. Right now we're just waving in one big C-shaped pattern, but in a moment I want you to start articulating the movements. We'll do that without the strap. So hold to one side. Take this top arm forward and back, like this arm is flossing. So we're flossing and cleaning out the metabolic debris. And in the practice, we're warming up the synovial fluid in the joint. Take the arm back and hold. You should feel that in the front of the chest. We're going to do quite a few plank poses today. 2 breaths. Kind of get into that joint. And then come up over to the other side. At first, just hold. If you need to either elongate so that your hand can hold you, that's fine. Take this top arm forward and back. Clearing out, flossing. So it might be that your journey has obstacles in it. It might be that where you are right now in your life is requiring you to make a change, is requiring you to look a different way, to look ahead to a path. Hold the arm back. So we're focused on the yamas today. The yamas are the restraints. The kind of hold back your natural inclination to do something that's not serving you. 2 more breaths. Exhale, and then let's release the strap. Put the strap down for a moment. Oh, I feel those shoulders. Take the arms forward and back, crisscrossing and twisting the arm and at the shoulder. There are 5 yamas. So I said there's 8 limbs to the Ashtanga Yoga practice. And I said the yamas, those are the restraints. The niyamas, those are the observances. The asana, those are the poses. The pranayama, that's the breath discipline, which you're still doing, right? The pratyahara, to let go of the senses of the outer world, going into sort of a higher mind. Take the arms back and hold. So we spun the arms open and the arms are being held back. Dharana, concentrate or mental focus. Dhyana, that's meditation. And ultimately the 8th limb, samadhi, is the ultimate connection, realization, or absorption into an infinite love. The reduction of all suffering. That's a beautiful thing. All right, I want you to practice now lifting one shoulder and then letting it wave through the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, and then the hand, and then all of the fingers. So try that again. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, and then the hand, and then all of the fingers. Try the other side. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, wave. This wave, it's just a wave-like pattern. So as best you can, communicate joint by joint by joint. Now do both. I don't care if they're both going at the same time or if you're sort of doing one then the other. So communicate whether you're doing one and then the other, and it looks very interesting and fun, or if they're both rising and a wave is going from the outside, from the inside to the outside. Now do the opposite. Bring the fingers up, and then the little wave moves through the wrist, through the elbow, and then through the shoulder. Other hand, hand or fingers, wrist, elbow, shoulder. Try a few more like that. What I'm trying to do is warm up the nervous system. The nervous system has to physically be warm, and that's through the blood, so movement is a good way to start this. But awareness of your posture, awareness of what you're doing is how you practice the yamas, those 5 disciplines or restraints. And the first one is ahimsa, and it's, of course, the most important thing because it's the first one. There's a reason it's the first one, and it means do no harm, do no violence in thought or action. Ahimsa is being kind to yourself and to others. So if this is hurting you, don't do it. How this manifests in our yoga practice is when you force yourself into a pose your body's not ready for. All right, release that down. So that's the wave. Now I want you to rock the pelvis forward and then let that wave move up the front of the body. Rock the pelvis backward. Let that wave move up the back of the body. So pelvis rocks and that wave begins spinal articulation. Try a few of these. Remember the third limb, or the fourth limb, is pranayama. So discipline your breath. And a yama is control or discipline or restraint. And the first one, remember, is ahimsa. Do no harm. Don't put your body in any position it's not ready for. So we're warming up and doing the wave. Right now we're starting from the bottom, but we could start from the top and go down that wave. 3, 2, and 1. Let's come around into hands and knees. Now, just because we changed our orientation in relation to the ground or to gravity or to the earth, doesn't mean that we're going to change, our body's going to become a different body. We still have an arm inserted into the shoulder socket, the same thing we did before. So roll the shoulders around. It's the same thing we did before. The arm now is 2 things. It's connected right to the earth, so it can't start circling around, and it's loaded, meaning that there's pressure on it. Gravity's pushing downward more than it did before. Circle forward, circle back. Most of us intuitively go backward first, so I should say backward and forward. Then I want you to do the scapular retraction. What that means is when you push through your hands, your upper back rises up and your shoulders go out. And then when you pull, kind of with your hands, the shoulder blades go together and your chest falls down. So scapular retraction, protraction is moving your shoulder blades out and in, out and in. Try that a few times so you get the idea. Ahimsa, remember, non-harming. So if this hurts, it means you must stop. So think that there's 4 other yamas and they all work together. They all have the same flavor though. Satya is being truthful. Now hold at center, hold the shoulder blades not out, not in, but right at the center. Push the hips back with the toes tucked under. And then push the hips forward. You may have to walk your hands an inch forward just to make sure you're not over flexing at the wrist. Push the hips back, kind of push into the heels. Push the hips forward as you pull the shoulders down. Push back and forward. As you're doing this, become more and more aware of those fingers and their role in holding on to the earth. Sadhya is truthfulness. This means be honest with yourself in all of your thoughts. So when you're sitting there telling yourself, I can't do this, I'm no good, all those things you say, when you're talking to yourself, you're not being truthful. Because you know that you're a powerful, amazing being and that your body is really a miracle of life. So to be truthful is to assess everything that you're doing 2 more times. So if this is hurting your shoulder, there's another good example. You might be moving your neck or your head around. Come back to hands and knees. Extend one leg back, tuck the toes under, move my blocks so you can see my foot, and then push back. I have this little brace on my one foot because I've lost the fat on the bottom of my heel, and it affects everything that I do, and it's caused plantar fasciitis. That's where the bottom of the foot hurts a lot because those muscles and tendons and ligaments and fascia, everything, are too tight. And so it hurts a lot to step on my foot. So we're just taking a nice long stretch. Satya is being truthful. I just told you something I would have rather not told you. I would have rather pretend it didn't happen. Not me. I take care of my body or whatever. I don't want to admit that. Let's go to the other side. Tuck the toes under, push the heel back. So assess the entire pose. What we do normally is we compensate. I say, well, she asked me to do this pose, so I'm going to force myself into it, even though it's either twisting my shoulder, one shoulder blade. I don't know if you can see my shoulder blade can pop way up ahead of. Maybe that's something I do to compensate so that I don't notice the pain or the stress or the strain in my back heel. So being truthful is noticing that everything is part of who you are, not just, what you're saying or doing, but your blood and your breath and your intention. Let's come back to hands and knees. Let's drive up and back and into downward dog. So lift up, float up and back. Light up the inner thighs. Push the inner thighs to the back wall more. Downward dog has a lot of pieces and parts. So this would be a good time to practice Astaya. Astaya is the 3rd yama. Remember, there's 5 yamas, 5 disciplines. Inhale, exhale. Astaya means don't steal. 2 more breaths. So your first thought, I know, is I don't steal. What, me? No, not me. Come all the way down to the belly. So do that by lowering your knees, bending your elbows, bring your chin and chest almost to the floor, and then lower your thighs, your hips, your belly, your chest. Stack your hands and let your forehead rest. Good. We just did a lot of warm-up already. So let's go back to the breath. Inhale. When you exhale, spread the energy of loving kindness across the body. Inhale. Exhale. The whole purpose of the yamas is to steer or direct all of your resources to the goal, to where you want to be, toward fulfillment, the thing that you want, that you feel good. So the whole purpose of the yamas, the disciplines or restraints, is to guide your resources, inner and outer, toward fulfillment. 3 more slow breaths. Drive the chin slightly down so the back of your neck now lengthens. When you exhale, spread energy out. Good. 1 more breath. Good. And slide your hands next to your ribs. Hold there for a moment with your head and chest sort of lifted. I want you to take a second to notice something that's super important anytime we do a plank pose. And that is that your shoulders don't roll and cascade forward onto the chest, but are pulled back and away, like when we were circling the arms backward and the shoulders went back. That's important. So you can think of the elbows like a seesaw. Elbows go down, the shoulder goes back and up. So you're like spinning the shoulder back. Hold that there. Then brace the abdominals. Use your abs as the anchor and the force, and then push back into child's pose. So try to do that without breaking your back. Once again, as we do plank pose, it's a really good barometer for whether you're practicing ahimsa, non-harming, Satya, truthfulness. Astaya, non-stealing. How non-stealing shows up on the mat is when you think there's not enough. Like you think, it's not enough. I can't do this pose. I can't have everything that I want. So you start stealing. You know, it's literally stealing things. Like I'm stealing from someone. I'm stealing energy that isn't mine. 2 breaths here. Exhale. Let's try this again. We'll come up to hands and knees. Let's take one arm forward. And what I want you to do is imagine your lasso. You know, a lasso? You take this arm and you're swinging around in a circle. But at the same time, move your shoulder up and down. So you're lassoing forward and near, you know, back and forward a little bit. And then go the other way. And then give it a couple of figure 8 patterns. And then bring that arm down. Try the other one. Arm forward, lasso, like you've got something in your arm and you're spinning it around. Move your shoulder away and down, so towards the top of your head, then towards the bottom of your feet a couple of times. And then I give it a couple of reverse figure 8 patterns. This is warming up and opening up the shoulders for all these plank poses. Bring that arm down. Same as before. Tuck the toes under. This time push the hips back. Walk your hands back. Come up to a hero's pose. Sit. Actually sit on those heels. Remember, I need these stretches for the fascia on the bottoms of my feet. Bring the hands to the heart. We're going to come back to hands and knees in a moment. So don't steal hero pose. Nobody should steal hero pose. Right? That makes sense. You are a hero, but don't steal the pose to show that you are. 2 slow breaths. Inhale, brace the lower abdominals. Exhale. Soften the tops of the shoulders. Then come back into hands and knees pose. Let's lift and extend one leg back. Okay, from the foot. First, just move the foot around. Just any old way you want to. Then circle the foot. It's probably what you were doing anyway. Circles are a common thing. Go the other way. Now, just wave your toes. Your toes don't just go forward and back. They go off to the sides, you know, kind of open and splay and squeeze close. So move your toes in any way that toes can possibly move. You'll notice that all 5 try to move together. See if you can change that dynamic so that you wake up the nervous system. The nervous system works 3 ways. Electrically, right? Chemically, and mechanically. That would start something happening in your nervous system. Now, flex and point at the ankle. And then flex the knee and extend. Flex and extend. So different joints have different terminology. They're doing what the joint does. That's all I'm going to tell you. Do what the joint does. Call it whatever you like. I'm going to say, you know, flex and extend and things like that. Now flex at the hip. So the hip goes. So notice I've gone joint by joint. So this is the warm-up. Let's say you just got out of bed and you have 10 minutes. You might warm up joint by joint. And the way to do that is to remember that the joints move. Circle this leg around in the hip socket. And then the other way. This is a complete warm-up to get blood moving, synovial fluid, and most importantly, cerebrospinal fluid going. Now, extend the leg out. Let's go make that wave. Move the foot, the ankle, the knee, the hip. Move the foot, the ankle, the knee, the hip. Move the toes, the ankle, the knee, the hip. Toes, ankle, knee, hip. Toes, ankle, knee, hip. And then bring that leg down. Push back to child's pose. Take a couple of breaths. 3 or 4 breaths. This is a good time for the 4th yama, brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is energy regulation. Don't give away more than you have. Don't go around spilling your energy on everyone and everything. It's energy regulation or energy balance. You have a limited amount of resources in time. We can replenish our resources, but it takes time to do that. Brahmacharya says, don't give away your energy too much. I'm super guilty of this one. Kind of continence, like hold on. One more breath. To come up to hands and knees and try the other leg. So extend the leg back. Yikes, I feel that. I really feel that one. Let's just move the ankle around to begin with. That's really where the rubber meets the road when we're walking and doing things. Wave the foot side to side. I forgot to say that on the other leg. Now just wiggle the toes around. Remember, they go forward and back. They can go out and in. And they all don't have to move at the same time. See if you can figure that out. We're creating tapas. That is heat. It's actually one of the Yamas. It's not one of the Yamas, but it's okay. They all kind of go together. Now, bend the knee. I couldn't figure out how to do that. It took a second to go, how do you bend your knee? Now move the hip. We call this the hip, where the leg inserts into the pelvis. That's the hip, by the way. Some people think the hip is the fleshy stuff on the outside of your glute. Well, okay, that is fleshy stuff. But that's not, from a joint perspective, that's not what the hip is. The hip is where the leg moves in that pelvic socket. All right, let's put it all together. Extend the leg back, wiggle the toes, wiggle the ankle. Move the knee. If you want to wiggle it, you can. Move the hip or the leg in the hip socket. Again, stretch the leg out. Toes, ankle, knee, hip. Again, toes, ankle, knee, hip. I'm going kind of fast just because there's a lot of joints. I want to hit all the joints. Remember, this is really just a warm-up. This isn't the exercise or the stretch yet, which we may not get to, and that's okay. We just meant to do a warm-up today. So we're waving energy through the body. One more time. Brahmacharya, remember, don't give away more than you have. And then, let's lower down, push forward, bend the elbows, bring the chin and the chest down. Now don't collapse that shoulder. So this is called knees, chest, and chin pose, or Ashtanga Namaskar. Push through, wave up into a cobra stretch. And remember, as much as you can, pulling the shoulders back, not letting them cascade forward like a big, grasshopper. Keep pulling back. Usually it's called cobra pose. So that the hood of your back is splaying out, not curling forward though, splaying back like the bow of a ship. 2 breaths. Elongate the sides of your legs. Push up into hands and knees. Let's do this one more time. Move into downward dog. Shine the inner thighs backward. Remember the spin of the shoulders. 2 breaths. Now hinge forward into a plank pose. So you kind of look forward. You may have to move your hands or your feet, but do make sure your hands land onto your shoulders. Remember, your arms are connected, so nothing is like falling out, nothing sagging down, everything's strong. Now, drape down to the knees, wave the spine, bend the elbows, and come into that cobra stretch. So I did that in a wave. Let's try that again. Push back to child's pose. Inhale, exhale. Rise up into hands and knees. Inhale, exhale. With the toes tucked under, move back to downward dog. Inhale, exhale. Now with a wave, kind of like bend your knees. Remember that's a chain or it's a wave there. Lift your hips round and wave the back, like scoop everything up and into that plank pose, and you land in the shoulders, peel back. Wave the spine, drape the knees down, bend the elbows, Hips go up, chin and chest go down. Remember, shoulders back, this knees, chest, and chin, Ashtanga Namaskar. Then wave the spine, roll through the spine, drop the belly, and then bow of the ship. Chest forward, shoulders back, cobra pose. 2 and 1. Let's push back into child's pose. This time, walk both hands over towards one edge of your mat, but the second hand, the one that just did it, it went across, have it grab the other's wrist. And with that hand, pull, pull, pull. Now this hand that's stuck on the floor, it doesn't go anywhere. But this is stretching those lats. And serratus anterior and teres minor. All you need to know is those muscles kind of at the base of the shoulder blade. You should probably feel that. What we just did was very hard, if you didn't notice. So the last or the fifth of the yamas is aparigraha. And again, this one probably for me is I'm most guilty of. Aparigraha is non-grasping. So even as we're grasping at the hand here and grasping at this stretch, I guess, non-grasping means that don't try to be or have what you think other people have. Don't grab at stuff. Like the breath. Don't grab at the breath. It'll come. Too slow. It's too slow of them. 2. Not grasping, letting the breath come and go. 1. Now go the other way. Walk this hand off to the edge. Take this other arm, grab its wrist, and pull. The reason that we suffer from aparigraha, from grasping, graha is grasping, aparigraha, is we think that we are not enough, that we are lacking somehow. And so we grab at stuff. Because of my foot, I've decided I'm going to get in a pool and try to swim, and I kind of have a phobia of the water, so I'm working through that, and as soon as I get in the water, I start grabbing at everything around me, to save my life. It's 3 foot. That's dangerous to me. So 2 slow breaths, not grabbing or grasping, not holding on. So what we say in yoga is practice alone. Don't be someone else. Let's come up. In fact, let's come around and onto the back. We've done a lot. We've done a lot with the plank poses. Let's just lift the arms up overhead and like angel wings, let the arms slide down next to you. So they come up overhead and then slide down next to you. Let's do a few of these. Inhale, exhale. We did a lot of waving through the spine, and the spine was not fully supported. We were on hands and knees and downward dogs, and that was a challenge. So I want your spine now to feel fully supported, that the waves of breath and energy moving through it are able to clear out. So in order to get what you want, a lot of times you have to get rid of a lot of things that you've been holding on to. Leave the arms overhead and let them rest. Cross one ankle over the other knee, and then sway that bottom knee side to side. All right, remember ahimsa, that was the first of the 5 yamas. It meant to do no violence. So you're only feeling, not forcing. You're only feeling this stretch. You're not forcing this stretch. Hold the legs to one side. Uncross the legs and then spin your knees over to the opposite side of the hips. Come back into center, recross ankle over knee, and that bottom knee goes side to side. As you're breathing in, breathing out, Ahimsa, do no violence. Satya, be truthful, honest with yourself. Noticing everything about what you're doing. So if this is hurting your low back, go back to Ahimsa. There's no hurting. Asteya, not stealing, that your life is full of abundance, so there's no need for you to steal a pose or steal something. Brahmacharya, regulate your energy. Don't give away everything. Hold the legs to one side. Uncross and let the knees spin over to that side. Two long breaths. Come back to center, hug the knees to the chest. So what I'm noticing, and this is how I put together my little yoga practice. Yes, I do plan, and I do have several things that I want to say and do. But once I start moving around, I feel. And right now I feel my lumbar spine. Maybe it was from swimming for the first time in years, but for some reason I feel the lumbar. So this pose feels very gratifying. I can feel energy moving in my low back, and that feels right. So remember, Ahimsa is the most important one to remember. That's to do no violence in thought or action. So I'm taking this time to heal myself. If you want to now, bring the soles of your feet together, grab the outer edges of your feet and pull. Forcing, not feeling. Remember, that's Ahimsa. To do no violence. Only kindness towards yourself and others. Satya, be truthful, be honest with yourself. Notice the entire pose, if you're compensating anywhere. Brahmacharya, regulate your energy. Asteya, not stealing. And of course, aparigraha, don't grab or grasp. From here, let's move right into Shavasana. I want to take 3 to 5 minutes to bring everything back together. So let the arms and the legs spin open. We took time warming everything up. So let's take a little bit extra time settling back into the space that you've prepared. As you exhale, settle in. May love bring you peace now. Inhale peace, exhale fear. Inhale peace, exhale fear. May love and the universal spark bring you peace now. Three slow breaths. Let them come and go without forcing, trusting that there is abundance everywhere. You are here now, and you don't need to be anywhere else. Slowly begin to roll to your side. Open your eyes. Push up off the floor. Make your way back up. Align the spine and all the centers, the energy centers of the body, all the way up through the head, all the way from the soft palate, the top of the mouth, through the crown of the head. Bring the palms together, touch the thumbs and into the heart. Inhale now, circle up, stretch up. Exhale, bringing everything back together where you are now warm. Namaste.